reaches all along, shouting through the static, clawing through the silence, waiting for someone to finally tune in. Don't adjust your volume. Just listen.
Hey, welcome back to Ghost Tracks Podcast. I'm Tina.
And I'm Molly.
And we've been having a lot of fun over here in the last week or so using some of our new ghost equipment. And for today's episode, I thought that it would be fun to discuss some of that. So today, we're going to talk about a modern method of spirit communication that's as controversial as it is compelling, and that would be the Estes Method. We'll walk you through what it is, where it came from, how it's supposed to work, and then the science. Boo. Science. Boo.
I like science. I can't boo science. I like science.
We do that from time to time around here. But being that we're ghosty gals, science doesn't really have a place in that most of the time. Well, okay. I guess it's better to say we don't have a place in science.
Quantum physics. That's science. That can back up.
Not according to all my research. But either way, we're just going to look at the science that kind of tries to explain like the basic mechanics and mechanisms of the devices and how they work in relation to spectral beings. And while this episode does have quite a bit of science, and it might sound like I'm dispelling the Estes Method as well as other forms of communication with spirits, I assure you that I am not. I have seen and heard ghosts as clear as day. I believe in them with literally all that I am.
You just want to share both sides.
Correct.
You want to give the full picture.
Yeah. I just think there's something healthy about looking at all angles of a situation. So I think that's what we're going to do today. And while you'll see science doesn't seem to have a place for those methods yet, maybe someday they will. I mean, they didn't really have a place for us to be traveling to space and see planets beyond our Earth until they did. So get comfy, strap on some headphones and a blindfold, and listen close. So we're going to talk about the Estes Method, which we've done quite a few times here in the last week. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But the Estes Method is spelled ESTES. And it's a paranormal technique that combines sensory deprivation with a spirit box. Essentially, one person, called the receiver, which is this girl over here.
I receive a lot.
She put on some noise-canceling headphones connected to a spirit box while blindfolded. And then they listened to the rapid audio chatter, white noise, and clipped words coming through that device. Meanwhile, another investigator, the interviewer, which was me, asked questions out loud, but the receiver cannot hear them. The idea is that any verbal responses that they speak, and I'm pointing to Molly, out loud are not influenced by suggestion bias, and therefore might be coming from an external source, i.e. a spirit. So when I began to look into the history behind the Estes Method, because I knew what the Estes Method was, and I knew what, the basics of it was, but I didn't know when this method was developed. And I was actually shocked because it was only developed less than 10 years ago. It's named after Estes Park, Colorado, where it was developed in 2016 by paranormal investigators Carl Pfeiffer, Connor Randall, and Michelle Tate during ongoing experiments with spirit communication at the Stanley Hotel. None other than.
Can we go?
Yes.
I want to go.
I would go. So, their hypothesis is that if spirits could communicate using energy, maybe isolating a person's senses and exposing them to radio frequency chaos could create a clearer, more verifiable line of contact. So, let's talk about the equipment that is used. We have noise-canceling headphones, and I got mine on Amazon, but I've also seen people buy professional headphones used for drummers that are obviously really good at keeping noise out of your ears. I think the type of headphones would depend on the individual wearing them. Molly's been the receiver in our sessions for a few reasons. Number one, Molly is better at focusing on the words that are coming through, whereas I'm overstimulated by the constant static and sounds and multiple other sounds that you hear through the spirit box. There's a lot going on in there.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
But number two, I think I'm part robot. I have like superhuman hearing. I listen to my music really fucking loud, and I can hear people speaking even through noise canceling headphones with my death metal on.
You know what? Still, maybe having that superhuman hearing, you might be able to pick up the high, like some of the different frequencies.
I could, but it's overstimulating for me is the bigger problem. It not just that I could hear you guys through it, because then
You fixate on the part.
it's not, there's just too much. Like, just like when we're at work, if somebody's talking in the background and I'm trying to listen to something in my headphones, I can't. I have to turn it off.
Well, I mean, that's overstimulating for me.
Yeah, I have to turn it off. I can't do the multiple different noises happening all at one time. My brain
maybe
just
my
can't.
head is a spirit box, because that's what it sounds like in there.
It might be.
That's why I can stand the dubstep.
I
Crazy
do
that-
like dubstep, but I don't know. I'm just weird. But anyway, obviously, Molly was just the better option for that role.
Volunteer as tribute.
She really did. So, in short, get whatever headphones actually work best for you. Just make sure that they're comfy, because most sessions are about 30 minutes long, and that they block out that external noise. Because again, the purpose of this is to block out all external stimuli that you can, verbal and, your eyesight, so that you're not reading lips or hearing what they're saying and then searching for or creating words out of that spirit box to spit out because you can hear the other person asking a question.
Yeah, well, I feel like I can focus better anyways, because, I'm zeroed in on what I'm hearing, not what I'm seeing too,
Right. So, headphones, check. Now, the spirit box. These are also known as a ghost box. It's a device that rapidly sweeps through AM or FM radio frequencies, and as it does, it produces choppy bursts of sound. Bits of radio shows, music, talk, and silence. And it sounds just like that sound I made earlier.
So does ours go through both of them, AM and FM, or is it just one or the other?
I think it's just one or the other. And most are.
Because it's probably FM, but I wonder what would happen if I had
You'd probably get
AM.
creepier music or creepier voices coming through.
It's okay.
It does. It sounds just like that. It's just like a
because AM is just talk radio.
I mean, we can try it. Sounds like that, and then randomly you will get like, Fred, I see her.
Mm-hmm.
Tina, shit like
I got
that.
diabetes. The other diabetes.
We know who was responsible for that, but it's in between all the sounds. So it can be a lot for me. But in theory, spirits can manipulate that chaotic audio by stitching together words from existing broadcasts, influencing the sweep to create intelligible speech, or interjecting their own voice, quote unquote, directly into the static. Skeptics argue that it's just noise. Any perceived meaning is created entirely by the human brain. But believers point to sessions where highly specific names or responses emerge that match personal questions, especially during Estes Method sessions where the receiver cannot hear those questions, which should be every session if you're doing it correctly. So we had, and again, we're going to go to TikTok and we could probably upload like the session to YouTube, like little bits of it, but there were quite a few instances where we had Molly hooked up to the spirit box and she was doing her thing, but we also had her phone in the background on
GhostTube. It was recording with the thermal camera setting.
And so it was also spitting out things. And what was it? It said something.
In the beginning it had said fire.
Right. Molly,
3 minutes later, I'm like, I put my hands up so that you knew it was me talking, but I'm like, I smell something burning. And then immediately it said fire.
Yeah. Yeah, she put her hands up and
burnt.
And
Actually, it
again,
was burnt. It said burnt.
yeah, she had her obviously blindfold on, headphones on. She couldn't hear anything I was saying. We were recording because we were on our TikTok live. And she put her hands up, and she did. She said, I smell something burning. And I said, guys, there's nothing burning here. We were in the middle of a cemetery. There was nothing there. And then all of a sudden she said, burnt. And then she's like, ah!
Because it was a little funny at first. I was like, ooh, what's that smell? Someone's cooking.
Yeah.
Something's cooking. And then I was like,
person.
no, something smells like it's burning.
Yeah.
I was like, burnt.
And then there was another one. Also, we got a lot about a fire that night. So there was something that said something like, it
Framed?
wasn't me, like,
Yeah.
it wasn't me, or something like that. And then the other spirit box said framed. And then somebody else, I think it was back to, like,
Yeah.
fire. Then,
Yeah, it was just going back
yeah,
and forth.
you kept saying, you said fire, and then it was, open the door, get out, get out. Like, super loud. So it was really, really weird.
And if you piece it together, it just sounds like they were
Right.
saying, like, I couldn't get out. I
Right.
didn't, like, it wasn't
Like,
me.
it's telling a story. Like a ghost is telling perhaps how they passed away or were injured. So,
Mhm.
things like that, when it's sweeping through hundreds of stations and all of a sudden those are the things that are being spit out one directly after another in quick succession without any other. Like, it wasn't like she was saying these things and then all of a sudden she was saying something else and then went back to it. These were coming out, every probably 10 to 30 seconds between something, like a word being said or a phrase being said. So it was pretty consistent. But let's look at the science behind it, even though I don't belong.
I think it's interesting.
But it's a lot of naysaying. That doesn't happen. That
So,
can't happen.
okay.
But we know
Here's
that it
my
can.
thing. Here's my thing. Even if I'm an investigator, I like to get to the truth of things. And if I can't explain it with science, if I can't explain it and debunk what's going on, then it seems more believable for me,
So, when a person is blindfolded and cut off from external noise, the brain becomes highly focused on the remaining stimuli. This heightened attention can lead to auditory pareidolia, our brain's tendency to impose patterns, especially language, onto random noise. In 2009, researchers at the University of Manchester studied people placed in sensory deprivation chambers, which are terrifying. Many participants, even those with no history of psychosis, reported mild hallucinations and auditory distortions. This suggests that prolonged exposure to white noise, especially in the absence of vision and external sound, can trigger the brain to create meaning where none exists. It's not deception, it's a natural neurological response. Two more psychological effects are relevant here: the ideomotor effects and confirmation bias. The ideomotor effect refers to unconscious movements or speech influenced by suggestion or expectation. Most commonly referenced in activities like Ouija boards or dowsing rods, it can also apply to speech. The Estes method may produce real words, but the question becomes, are they directed by the receiver's subconscious or not? Confirmation bias adds to this. Investigators may interpret a random word like water as meaningful if earlier they asked, where did you drown? Our brains are primed to connect the dots, even if the dots are random. So that's what I was kind of saying before. Like, there was no earlier they said this and then they said fire and get out. And it was a repeated pattern, but it was clusters of speech coming through, all saying the same or very similar things regarding what seemed to be one event. And then it moved on to something else. And then later came back also talking about like the same things, like fire. So I think instances like that, it's a little more believable because it's not just us piecing it together throughout a 30-minute session.
And it was clearly fire, not like flour or something else, which, I like to try and use logic.
So the core question here is, can spirits actually manipulate radio waves? Electromagnetic radiation, including radio waves, is a physical phenomenon created by moving electrical charges. It's governed by physics and requires an energy source, electricity, vibration, or a transmitter. For a spirit to alter or inject words into a radio signal, it would need to exist as a measurable energy form, interface with electromagnetic fields, generate or alter specific audio pattern. Currently, it is stated that there is no known scientific model explaining how consciousness, especially disembodied, could do this. That said, some parapsychologists argue that spirits may manipulate the electromagnetic fields, or EMF, in environments where activity is reported. Devices like EMF detectors are commonly in investigations, and we have one.
Mm-hmm. But you have to be careful with those, because sometimes in old buildings, if they have copper wiring and piping, it can affect it.
Yeah. Or your phones or anything else that puts it off. That's why putting it in the middle of a room, same thing with a REM pod, putting it in the middle of the room where there is no, so the REM pod just, that detects movement. EMF detector is the electromagnetic fields. So it's two separate things that it is
Easily
measuring,
with.
that it's measuring, but they can interfere with one another. So obviously you have to be sure that these two devices in an investigation are not placed near one another, but that they're also not placed near other things that can interfere with that, whether that be a person for the REM pod or other devices for the EMF detectors. Again, science states that there is no concrete evidence showing that ghosts generate EMFs, let alone manipulate them to produce radio frequency speech. This discussion wouldn't be complete without touching on EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, which, what was that movie? It had to do White Noise, right?
I was just thinking about that movie.
White Noise.
Love it.
That kind of creeped me out a little bit.
Yeah.
But
it had a twist I was not expecting.
EVPs are often picked up on audio recordings, so that's why we record with like a separate audio device or multiple to see if it's showing up in all of them, then it's probably not an EVP. There's probably some sort of interruption happening between all three of the devices. It was probably somebody that was talking and didn't announce that they were speaking, or coughing, or walking through an area or something like that caused that disturbance. But if it's just on one and they're all in the same area and that's the only one that's picking it up, you might have something. EVPs are often picked up on audio recordings, usually during investigations, and interpreted as ghostly messages. Audio engineers and psychologists have explained EVPs as audio artifacts, which can occur from cheap or sensitive recording devices, radio bleed-through, from nearby towers or walkie-talkies, psychological interpretation, people hearing speech in background noise, and again, pareidolia plays a huge role. It's the same principle behind hearing a song lyric wrong, when your brain fills in gaps based on familiarity or expectation. Like some of the songs by Elton John, which I won't sing on here. The one I'm always screaming at work whenever it comes on. She's got electric boobs. Electric boots.
Okay.
But there's plenty of that. But if you're exposed to static and random fragments for a prolonged period, especially while anticipating ghost communication, you're far more likely to hear something, even if there's no intelligent source behind it. And I think that's another reason why Estes methods don't really go on for more than 30 minutes, because it gives yourself a break from that break in reality. The sensory deprivation, if you carry on for too long, then your brain is trying to fill space and things. So about 30 minutes is kind of what I like to do, and what I know other investigators that I've talked to also do. Any longer than that, I think you're kind of almost setting it in the direction of, getting evidence, because your brain is creating stuff that it might not be there.
Right. I think you could easily go into a psychosis.
Right. So
for sure.
30 minutes, I think, is a safe.
Exactly. Like, what I've noticed is probably the reason why I end up screaming and I'm saying, oh, it's just getting good, is because I get into this tunnel vision, and where I'm only focused on this and my senses are heightened.
And by screaming, she means every time I go to pull her out of it, she screams bloody murder.
Yeah. So,
and I think that's the same with the mirror experiment that you wanted to do that we still haven't done. That's only 10 minutes, but you're supposed to literally sit in silence in a darkened room and just stare at yourself in a mirror for 10 minutes.
I'm not sure I want to do that to myself.
So, obviously your brain is going to start manipulating what it's seeing, what it's hearing, what it's feeling, things like that, because it's creating something happening in the empty space.
And I don't like silence for too long because I can hear the whooshing in my ears from blood rushing through. And I heard there was this contest that nobody can make it an hour in this deprivation chamber. And if you can make it to an hour, you win X amount of money. It was a competition going on last year, I believe. And everyone pulls out because they cannot stand the sound of the blood rushing in their ears.
I could probably do it.
There's a lot of people that think they can do it. I want to see if it's still a thing.
I enjoy silence and solidarity.
Yeah, this is more than silence. This is an actual deprivation chamber, though, where you can hear your breathing. It's not silence. You can hear your breathing. It's incredibly loud.
I bet I could do it. I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, we'll see. I want to see if you can do it.
Here's the part where it gets philosophical. While there is no current scientific evidence that ghosts can manipulate radio waves, we also don't fully understand consciousness itself. Neuroscience is still exploring what consciousness is, where it resides, and whether it might persist after death. Have you ever considered the question, when you think of your consciousness and your body, where do you feel yourself, quote unquote, at the most? And I had this question posed to me a couple years ago. And I thought it was super interesting because most people I thought I would feel it in my brain, right? Because that's where you're supposed to be, is in your brain. That's what's functioning and manipulating your body and making you breathe and all of those things. But that's not where I think my consciousness is at. When I think of my tiny Tina in there manipulating my skin suit that I reside in, I actually think of her living in my neck. Kind of the base of my skull and the back of my neck, literally right back here.
Yeah. Okay.
Almost by your voice box in the front, but kind of centered. But I feel like I am more in this area, that this is where my consciousness is. Other people have said their head, but most often it's in some other part of their body.
For me, I would feel here.
Here, your third eye space. But anyway, not enough people have said that they feel their consciousness in their butts, though. And these days, I know most of those people are lying because there's a whole lot of asses walking around.
Ba-dum-bum.
Yeah. Think anybody ever feels it in their elbow? This is where I live.
Rush.
This is where I live right here, my elbow.
Your elbow?
My middle finger. I'm shocked that's not where my consciousness is because I'd be flipping this bird to everybody, especially when I'm driving.
I've seen it.
Yeah. Fucking dicks. Paranormal investigators argue that just because something hasn't been proven does not mean that it is not possible. Only that we haven't yet found the tools to measure it. The Estes Method then becomes kind of an experimental interface. Less a phone to the dead and more a psychological and environmental experiment, one that changes both the believer and the skeptic. So, the Estes Method is compelling because it feels real. When you're in that dark space behind a blindfold, start shouting out that eerily match what your partner has just asked, it's hard to shake. But the science tells us that our brains are wired to find patterns. Sensory deprivation can trigger hallucinations. The spirit box provides chaotic audio ripe for misinterpretation, and there's no known mechanism by which ghosts can manipulate EMF or radio signals. So does that mean that it's fake? Not necessarily. It means it's unproven. But it's also deeply human, a blend of psychology, belief, and experience.
So hallucination, kind of like where I felt something to my left, because
I think from a science standpoint, they would say that that was, again, your brain filling space or creating an experience for yourself because
perhaps I just thought my senses were heightened.
I don't disagree that you felt something.
Times when you're sleeping. I do get parahallucinations, though, if that's what you want to call them, because what else explains me sitting up in bed with my eyes open and I'm popping balloons in the air?
Well, all day today, I have felt like something was touching my head all day. I have felt I don't know if you guys have ever felt like if anyone listening, if you do energy work or anything like that, and when you're told to expand your energy and kind of push it out from your body, for me, a lot of the time, it's not like like a linear pushing out. So it's not coming out all in one, solid like orb, or what am I trying to, like a disc that's surrounding me, pushing out all at one time. It's more like fingers coming out, like tentacles coming out and trying to touch things and grab things. So that's kind of what I
Like
have
roots.
felt today. Yes. That's kind of what I felt today. Like something was touching my head, and like my hairs almost were standing on top of my head and trying to grasp at something that is just out of reach.
I mean, that's why we have hair on our body, is for sensory. I mean, what they say is our energy resides about, an inch from our skin and up, but the hairs on our bodies are meant to rival.
Well, that's what cats have, whiskers.
And the hairs stand up on edge because you're ready for attack. You need to know which side is coming from, and to feel the movement of the wind over here if someone's coming from behind you and all that.
Well, how often in the last couple of weeks have I said that I felt like somebody was standing behind me? I did it today at work. I didn't say anything because we were in the middle of live, but I turned around because I thought somebody was, again, it's also
It's Mary.
mostly
It's our friend
to
Mary.
my left. I turned around and was looking to my left because I thought somebody was over there. And then I turned to my right to check over there, and Elle was across the room. So
In the kitchen, you experienced
yep, that was at my daughter's birthday. I thought my son was standing behind me, and there was no one downstairs with me.
Maybe it's time to do a cleanse between the microwave giving out.
Yeah, my microwave broke.
So
Mercury was in it.
The volume suddenly not wanting to work on something I wanted to watch. I didn't want to watch anything else except for this one thing. And after I unpaused it, the sound didn't work, and I had to like turn it on and off when everything else was working. Like the next video next to it, or even, like how there's the hip pack. What do you call that?
The what?
In your phone, like you can turn it off where your phone like makes the sound. What do they call that?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Hip pack.
Hepatic?
Hepatic. Thank you.
I was like, you're what? Hepatic. Yeah, the
hepatic.
Yeah.
Anyways, your TV has that too, like when you're selecting apps. That was working, just not the video I wanted to watch. So something's fucking with us.
I mean, I wouldn't
Probably
be
Mary.
shocked.
She's probably mad because we messed up the first time we were calling her.
Because we didn't get it right. Now she's pouting.
Yeah,
taking it out.
she's mad we didn't stick around long enough.
She's being moaning Myrtle, but we just can't hear the moaning.
Well, in England, that's what she is because they flush her down the toilet.
Yep.
So
whether it's real spirit communication or just us echoing into the static, the Estes Method forces us to confront what we believe and how far we're willing to go to find answers. I believe all of it, for the most part, honestly. I've seen other people do the Estes Method, and a lot of the time, I mean, it's easy on the outside looking in. When you're watching like TV shows or something, you're like, they can literally hear everything that person is saying. There ain't no way that they're being that on point. Like, it's really hard to believe when you're looking at it somebody else. But when you're standing in a graveyard and you're the one asking questions and you have somebody that you trust with you doing the Estes Method, and they're mirroring what you're saying or answering, or there's those kind of clustered things that are seemingly all leading up to one explanation, it's kind of hard to say that's not really happening.
Right. I've had some experiences I can't explain, and I will try to go through my steps of, okay, could have been this. And I love those moments where I can't explain something.
Yeah.
I love it.
What other things that happened the other day did you want to kind of share?
During the Estes? The laughing, very strange, because it was very loud and came out of nowhere. It's like, I'm not even going to try to mimic exactly what it sounded like, but my brain's not working either, girl.
Mine either. Like,
Are we done with Mercury?
No, we're not.
Can we
She's
please?
still here.
She needs to get on.
Please hold. Well, I had a phone call. Now I don't remember what we were talking about, other than our brains are dead.
Yeah.
So, we're just going to wrap it up because I don't want to repeat everything that I might have already said. But we want to know, like, if you've tried the Estes Method, did you get anything intelligent or just a lot of radio gibberish? We'd love to hear about your experiences, or like with an EMF detector or REM pod. Like, do you like going and doing investigations?
Do you have any EVPs you'd like to share?
Yeah. Whether they convinced you or left you more skeptical, you can email us at ghosttrackspodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. We go live on TikTok every Friday, beginning around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until about 10 p.m. However, we have made the decision that any night that we are out at a location investigating, specifically at a cemetery, we're going to go live a little later in the evening so that it's dark and we're less likely to have living visitors while we're trying to communicate with the dead ones. So,
Get closer to the witching hour.
and we have, we have four investigations and one, not really an investigation, but just a cool event that we're going to go do, and we'll be filming and stuff like that and getting some content coming up all before October 5th. So we've got a lot going on. So be sure that, again, if you're not following us on TikTok, you can do that, and that is just Ghost Tracks Podcast. Or just come back here and listen to future episodes, because we're going to talk all about things that we're going to do, and we'll probably do some episodes regarding the places that we're going to go and investigate at, so that, we have some more information about what we're walking into, but then also where you guys have a background of where we're going also. So keep your ears open, your recorders rolling, and remember, the tracks we may follow may not always be ours. Stay creepy. Bye.
Bye.